I'm supposed to speak at 11. That's why I'm here. Is this mic working? Maybe it is. Before I get started, I'm going to ask you a question, simple question. And if your answer is yes, I'd appreciate if you raise your hand. How many of you are interested in starting a small vegetable farm in order to supplement your income or make that your number one source of income? Would you, if any of you are interested in that, would you raise your hand? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I know you. Okay. I got 9 people here. Now, follow-up question. Of those who raised your hands, how many of you are from Kentucky? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. I have a program called Farming for Cash that's going to help you, train you for that purpose. And I don't care who calls me, so I will share my cell phone number. It's 502-209-0838. Even if you call me saying that I owe money to you, that's okay, all right? That's okay, because you're going to get that from me. But if you want to be part of Farming for Cash and learn what we have planned for trainings for people, please send me a text message. My name is Sid Dasgupta. Just call me Sid, S-I-D. 502-209-0838, okay? In your text message, say what your name is, where you live, if you're interested in learning about vegetable production and sales, and if you have any land where we can do this. All right, now let's get into my presentation. I do have a lot of information in here. If you want this presentation to review later, come see me and give me your email address. I'll be glad to send it to you, okay? All right. So the title of the presentation, I know is a little cut. It's called Income from Small and Microscale Vegetable Farming. Can you make any income? Well, let's find out. So I'm talking about acre and sub-acre vegetable farming, which means farming, say, up to an acre of land. Now, some folks may not understand how big an acre is. An acre is 43,560 square foot, okay? Many of these buildings that you're sitting now will fit in 1 acre, okay? An acre can be an awfully big piece of land, all right? And a tremendous amount of vegetables can be grown in an acre. I live in Ohio, where the farms are 500, 600, 1,200 acres, okay? So when I talk about acre farming of vegetables, people just snicker at me. But I have some information that I think you're going to like about acre and sub-acre. Sub-acre means smaller than an acre. All right. So I'm going to tell you some of the characteristics of the beginning farmers that I'm familiar with. They typically struggle with the lack of land. They often don't have the right amount of land or the right type of land. They don't have money to get started in farming. That's called the lack of capital, okay? And many of them don't have labor. The only labor they have is themselves. And they have a job, okay? So they really are weekend and evening farmers, all right? So when you put those 3 things together, what it means is that these individuals who are interested in farming, they can produce only small quantities of stuff to sell. It would be maybe a pickup truck load, maybe a pickup truck and a trailer load, but it's not going to be ever a tractor trailer load, okay, of vegetables. And that the quantity of vegetables you're producing has a direct impact of how you sell it, how much money you can make. All of that are like a jigsaw puzzle. They're all connected together. All right. So I did a survey of beginning farmers in Ohio. I used to work in Ohio. I was the extension director there for about 3 years. And in Ohio, we found out, if you look at 64% of the people surveyed out of 61 people said that they suffer from the lack of farmland. 69% says they don't have any money to get started in farming, okay? 74% says the lack of knowledge in production, sales, and management of the farm, okay? When I talk about vegetable farming, yes, it is similar to vegetable gardening, but it is also significantly different. And I'm about to show that to you by just showing you 2 photos. 2 photos is all you need to see to understand the difference between vegetable farming and vegetable gardening. Okay, this is a survey with the help of our esteemed Mr. Chavis, and only got 7 farmers, but they said some of the same things. They don't have they don't have land, they don't have access to money to get started in farming. So how do we cope with this stuff? And I have some answers today. Okay? These are some of the things that novice farmers, particularly in vegetable growing, need to know. I highlighted them for a reason. It's easier to grow food than it is to sell food. Okay? That is always true. Okay? So before you jump into growing food, please be careful and knowledgeable about how you're going to sell it, how much money you're going to pay, you're going to get paid, and whether or not the people you're selling food to want to buy the food from you, okay? So be aware of that. Food quality and grading of vegetables are important, okay? Tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, they have what they call USDA gradings. There is a number 1 tomato, then there is a number 2 tomato, and a number 3 tomato. Nobody is going to buy a number 3 tomato from you unless they are your family or friends, okay? Number 1 tomatoes fetch twice the price of number 2 tomatoes at produce auctions in wholesale markets, okay? You need to learn not only how to grade your product, but also how to take care of your plants in order to get the most number 1 product out of it, okay? I'll give you an example of tomatoes. If you grow tomatoes under the sky without any kind of protection, your percentage of number 1 tomatoes will reduce. You don't want rain to fall on your tomato plants. That will reduce the quality of your product. Okay? So good quality, so commercial tomato growers, they always prefer to grow it under some kind of a cover. It doesn't have to be a tunnel. It has to be a cover to keep the rain off the plants. Okay? You have to learn how to manipulate flower clusters in a tomato plant. Look at the flowers. You have to take a pair of sharp scissors to cut off smaller flowers. That would allow the remaining flowers to turn into fruit and get to, say, 0.8 to 1 pound tomatoes. Okay? Number 1s. You have to be very selective of what variety of tomatoes you're growing. One of the top varieties of #1 producing tomatoes are called Red Deuce, BHN 589, and I forgot, Primo Red, okay? Those are commercial varieties that would give you the top #1 tomatoes. So there is a certain amount of knowledge that goes into this thing. If you buy from Burpees seeds and you want to get Big Boy, Better Boy, Early Girl, those varieties that many of us are familiar with for home gardening, those are not commercial varieties. They are not going to take you to the promised land when it comes to farming and selling vegetables. Another thing, earning a six-figure income from a small piece of land is not the norm, okay? If you go on YouTube and watch a lot of YouTube videos about small-scale farming, there are videos saying, oh, I made $80,000 or $120,000 from half an acre. That's not what most farmers do in the real world, okay? So please don't be swayed by videos that are, maybe it's true for one or two people, okay? But it's not true for most people. And unfortunately, I'm the kind of guy, I never fall under the one or two people category. I'm always under the most people category. That's just my bad luck. Maybe you guys are special, but I'm not, okay? The data from vegetable farm shows average profit would be about 50 to 55 cents per square foot. We know an acre is 43,560 square feet. So you should expect, if you are a good manager, a good farmer, to be able to make about $21,000 to $22,000 a year profit out of 1 acre of land growing vegetables. All right. No, it's not just tomatoes. It's a mix. So you're going to grow stuff in the spring, grow stuff in the summer, grow stuff in the fall, and all the money you make, when you put that together, that should come out to be around $20,000 an acre. Okay? Bingo! Look at these two photos. The photo on the top left is vegetable gardening. The photo on the bottom right is vegetable farming. Do you see that there is a little difference? Okay? If what they're doing on the top left photo, if you do that to a whole acre, okay, you would be spending every waking hour trying to take care of those vegetables by hand, okay? Just because of the way they have set it up. But if you look at the photo in the bottom right, you could run machines on it to take care of the vegetables. It makes it very easy to do that. And when I say machines, I don't always mean a tractor, okay? They have things. You can do it with a tiller. See, you can run a tiller there, or you can run a wheel hoe. There are machines called wheel hoes that have various attachments that would help you build up soil. It would help you side dress your vegetables, and it will also help you to cultivate your ground, okay, without using a hand tool. That's the thing you want to avoid. You don't want to ever bend down and work on the land, okay, because after a while your back's going to give out, all right? So we have to be smart in what we do. All right, let's talk about some production opportunities, okay, on small-scale vegetable growing. For sub-acre farming, one should focus on High-value crops. What are these high-value crops? These are crops that bring you some of the highest money on a per square foot basis, or on a, on my farm. I do have a farm in Ohio. I do 35-foot rows. Typically, people would do 50, 100, or 100-foot long rows. So on high-value vegetables are tomatoes, greens. Now, greens is a general term for a variety of crops, okay, including lettuce and spinach and collards and mustards and turnips, all kinds of things in there. Arugula, that's a green. Kale, that's a green. Then you have carrots, okay? That's a high-value crop. Carrots can be hard to grow, not because they are difficult crop by itself. They do take a long time to germinate, but the weeding part can be a challenge, okay? Onions. Onions also are challenged by weeding, okay? However, they do take longer time than other crops to grow. Onions can take anything from 80 to 120 days for the bulb to mature, okay? And garlic takes 7 to 9 months to grow, okay? But they're a high-value crop, and various herbs. Herbs are relatively easy. What are low-value vegetables? Low-value vegetables include sweet corn, okay? Everybody loves sweet corn, right? Except for the farmer who doesn't make money growing sweet corn, okay? So it's a low-value vegetable. Squash is a low-value vegetable. Potatoes are a low-value vegetable. Now, can you make money doing all of those three crops? Yes, you can, but it would make more sense for you to grow those in larger tracts of land than smaller tracts of land, okay? You do not want to grow 1,000 square feet of potatoes. If you have a market for potatoes, you may want to grow 2-3 acres of potatoes, all right? Same deal with sweet corn. Product must be of high quality, top grade, and I spoke about that earlier. On the cucumber side, you may want to try a variety called Sweet Slice. On the cantaloupe side, you may want to try a variety called Athena, okay? But for new farmers, I always encourage them to focus on fast-growing varieties, things that can be put in and harvested quickly to make money, all right? 45 to 50-day cabbage. You know, if you grow cabbage, you're looking at some cabbages are 90 days before you can harvest. Now, they're monster heads, you know, basketball or bigger, all right? But you don't need those big cabbages to sell at a farmer's market. People are fine with smaller cabbages. I grow the Katarina variety. It's a 45-day sweet cabbage, okay? It's about that big, but when you chop it up and cook it, people are always surprised on how sweet it is, okay? Then there is a 50-day variety called Stonehead. Stonehead cabbage, you can also grow that. That's a quick cabbage, all right? Then there are tomatoes that can be harvested in 45 to 50 days. So you may want to grow that. You may want to start your tomatoes in February and then put them in the ground in a tunnel at the end of April and be ready for the market by June. All right, so that's a 50-day tomato. Then broccoli. There is a variety called Green Magic, 55-day broccoli. I grew it. I have a photo of it on my phone. Heads are about that big. Very beautiful, beautiful broccoli, okay? 45-day lettuce. What's 45-day lettuce? There is a variety called black-seeded Simpson. Okay, 40 to 45 days they will form a head. 60-day cantaloupe called Aspire. Okay, you can get those for sale. And one of the fastest intermediate onions that you can grow is called Candy. Okay, Candy can be prepared in 85 days. Now, here in Kentucky, you cannot grow short day onions. You have to go South Tennessee for you to grow short day onions. Kentucky to Southern Ohio, you grow intermediate day onions where you have about 12 hours of daylight, okay? If you go to northern part of Ohio, then you're growing long day onions that require 14 hours. So if you try to grow short day onions here, your onions will not bulb. They will not become the big bulb that people want at a market, okay? They will become golf ball. Nobody wants a golf ball onion, okay? All right. Where am I? All right. Grocery store sales. Now, I think I passed something here. Yeah. So there are other opportunities. So farmers markets, well, farmers market is not always a good thing, all right? I'll tell you my personal example. I sell at a, you may call a rural/urban farmers market in Ohio, okay? It's a very nice city. There are people with money who live there. But after selling there, I did the math and I figured out, I would probably make only $2,000 a year selling at that market, okay? No matter what I sell, there's just not enough customers, all right? Now, so I have to have my son sell there, and I have to go to another farmer's market and sell at 2 farmers market if I want to make a $5,000 income a year, okay? So farmers markets are not always the answer, all right? But if you do want to sell at farmers markets, these are some of the top vegetables. Beefsteak tomatoes, they are not interested in Roma tomatoes, trust me. Beefsteak tomatoes, carrots, greens, onions, broccoli, and melons, okay? Those are some of the top items. Green beans also, some of the top items that sell in farmers market. So one of the things that I'm looking into as part of my research program here at Kentucky State University is selling more and more vegetables to ethnic grocery stores. So I had one of my graduate students, Ruby, go and collect data from various ethnic markets, grocery stores in Kentucky. And these are some of the things that we learned. African market is a general term because there are African market for people who are from the western part of Africa. There are African markets people from the central part of Africa. Yes, they do have differences, but they also have a lot of similarities, okay? And we found out that the small white eggplants, they do look like eggs, okay? Like a big chicken egg. That is something that is of high demand. There is something called an African gourd. They want that. And small sweet pumpkins. They sell well. The good thing is these markets also want fresh leaves as their greens. Cassava leaves, sweet potato leaves, and amaranth leaves are products they want. So they are actually buying from wholesalers out of Chicago, St. Louis, Cincinnati, and New York. And they do get some of these items supplied to them, but the quality is not there, particularly with leaves, okay? Leaves need to be fresh, right? If a leaf is on a truck for a week, all right, until it gets to your market, it looks like a dead fish that has been on a truck for a week, okay? It's just not pretty, all right? All right. Indian, South Asian, so this is Indian, Nepalese, Pakistani, maybe some Burmese stores. By the way, Dr. Dawson, there are several stores from Myanmar in Bowling Green. I found that interesting. What do they want? They want the large purple eggplants, okay? Some people call them the Chinese eggplants, all right? Green hot chili peppers, some people call them the Thai peppers. They're skinny. Okay, they're only about as long as a cigarette. They're green, sometimes they're red, and please don't bite into them. You will know that you're alive when you bite into them. okay? Fresh turmeric, ridge gourd. What the heck is ridge gourd? Bingo, that's the ridge gourd. You see the picture up there? That's called a ridge gourd. That's something they like to get. Yard-long beans. When they say yard-long beans, it's really not yard-long. They're about that big, okay? Green beans that are that big. You can get them green or purple, all right? Okra, fresh okra is something they want. Fairly easy to grow. I have grown it. Cabbage and cauliflower, all right? Moving on. So here are some data that we collected from a survey of grocery stores in Ohio. So we had some 16 stores in Dayton, 2 stores in Toledo, and 4 stores in Cleveland. And you know, if you look at it, what do they really want? Everybody wants tomatoes, all right? And some of these guys will buy your medium-sized Roma tomatoes and your 4 to 6 ounce beefsteak tomatoes, all right? White and black Americans, they prefer your 14, 16 ounce beefsteak tomatoes. They prefer the large ones. But in Asia, and I think maybe in Africa, I'm not sure, but I know for Asia that farmers typically don't grow those big tomatoes, all right? They have the medium-sized tomatoes. So these individuals who are buying from these ethnic grocery stores, they have grown used to eating the smaller tomatoes, so that's what they want. And so if you have smaller tomatoes, that's a good place to sell them. Pardon me. They are willing to buy it seasonally. They understand that local farmers in Ohio, in Kentucky, they cannot supply for a whole year, okay? So their sales is so large that they would buy several 25-pound boxes of tomatoes from you when you have them, okay? But they're not going to make you their exclusive supplier, all right? They do have a wholesale supplier that they will rely on, but if you provide them with good quality product and you're willing to accept wholesale prices, remember that's important, you're willing to accept wholesale prices, okay? Then, so what does that mean? You will get $18 to $20 for a 25-pound box of tomatoes, okay? If you're okay with that, I'm okay with that for my tomatoes, then you can sell it to them. All right. Next question. Can small-scale farmers sell collaboratively? Notice the Amish do that. The Amish and Mennonites, they're really good at that. They always work together. Okay? Question is, can the rest of us follow that example? Working together brings special strengths. One way that we can work together is by doing what is called a marketing cooperative. What is a marketing cooperative? A marketing cooperative is an organization among a group of farmers who agree that they will plan their production and sales together, who agree, number one, we will trust our brothers and sisters in the church. That's what the Amish and Mennonites do. They trust each other. They don't lie to each other. They work together, okay? That's number one. That is the main glue that holds the cooperative together. The second thing is they will find one person among their group who is very good at making sales, okay? Or you guys can hire somebody from Kentucky State or from University of Kentucky. You can have a young person who is graduating with a degree in marketing. Hire that person. Oh, did I forget something? You don't have to pay them a salary. Isn't that great? If you can hire somebody and they will work for you without a salary, I think that sounds fantastic. But they would still get paid. How do they get paid? This is how. that person that you hire, they go and find markets for your products. They tell you, this is what you should be growing. You have to trust your manager and do what that person tells you. When they sell, they charge a commission on the sales they're making, okay? So they get paid from the sales. You do not have to cough up a salary for them, okay? So if they want to make a lot of money, they better go make a lot of sales, okay? And if they make a lot of sales for you, that is good news for you because you are selling more of your crop, okay? So it is a win-win situation, all right? So I really think that some of our students should be engaged in that, should come, you guys should hire them to help sell stuff at farmers markets, okay? They don't have to do it as part of the university, they can do it as a private person, okay? And then they get a commission, okay? They can get 50 cents a pound to them, all right? While the rest of the money goes to you. Something very simple, all right? Okay, what are we? Financing opportunities. Oh, brother, this is a tough one. Yes, you need money to get started with farming, okay? No, I do not recommend borrowing from the government. If you want to do that, that's fine. I farmed without borrowing a penny from the government, and I will not borrow money from the government if I can avoid it, because once you borrow money from them, and if you're not able to pay it back on time, guess what they will do? They will take your farm away from you, okay? They will take everything you possess, your tractor, your equipment, everything away from you. So, yes, they have opportunities, but be very careful in what you do. So, the Curtis Stone, do you know who Curtis Stone is? If you don't, look him up online, okay? So Curtis Stone is a guy, he's a Canadian, and he has a successful farming model for small-scale vegetable growers. He says that you can obtain land by working with your neighbors and share your profits or share your crop with them, okay? So that is your immediate land access. And what does Siddhartha Dasgupta say? Yes, you can start your first farm by getting land from various community gardens, okay? We have a whole list of community gardens all over Kentucky, and most of them will allow you to rent 1,000, 2,000, up to 4,000 square feet with water access, okay, at just very nominal prices. Trust me, you spend more money at McDonald's in a year than what these people want for use of their land, okay? It's nothing, all right? And some people will even give it to you for free, all right? That should be your first farm if you don't have access to land. Now, how much money do you need to get started farming, excluding the land? You need around $5,000, okay? Again, you don't have to borrow it from the government. You can work with your family and friends, and they may be able to help you. And then you, of course, do pay them back, okay? So you need a small tiller, $500. Am I lying? No, I'm not. Go to Lowe's. You can get a good quality 4-cycle engine Mantis tiller that can take care of a few thousand square feet for $300 to $400, okay? Now, hand tools, those are $200. An irrigation, so drip irrigation system, an entire box for your drip irrigation, about $250. Seed germination kit, that's $200. What is a seed germination kit? Those are seed trays, ProMix, and you need a lighted shelf that can go into your home where you can germinate up to 1,000 seedlings at a time, okay? So that's about $200, okay? Harvesting equipment, around $200. What is harvesting equipment? Knives, gloves, baskets, okay, boxes. Those are harvesting equipment. You need a wash pack station, okay? I'll show you later how to build one. A wash pack station is something that has basins, okay, that has a freshwater line coming in, that has a place where that has a bubbler. You can build a bubbler using a brand new, don't go used on this, a brand new wet dry vacuum cleaner, okay? You can build a bubbler that would bubble water and air together to wash your vegetables, and then you have a drying station where you have some box fans, cheap Walmart box fans, might I add, that would dry your vegetables, and they would go into boxes or bags. And then you need a small produce cooler. That's about $1,700. You can buy that used produce cooler, or you can build a wooden shed and you put in insulation in there, and you put in a $90 air conditioner out of Walmart and a CoolBot system. If you want to learn how to do all of that, please join Farming for Cash, because we're going to show you how to do all those things, okay? So it all adds up to about $5,000. That's the investment you need to get started, okay? All right, then once you have a 3-year farming record, then you can, once you're ready, once you know that you can do this, you may end up hating to farm, okay? Then the most you're going to waste is $5,000, all right? That's an acceptable loss, but don't buy land without knowing if you like to farm or not. But once you have 3 years of profit you're making, and you have farm income tax for 3 years, then you can approach the government for a low interest loan to buy a farmland, to buy a home for you to live on, all of that. That'd be good, because at that time you know that, yes, you can do this. You understand what I'm saying? Don't buy all that stuff and then find out that you're a flop as a farmer. Yeah, please don't do that, okay? All right, so here are some income possibilities, some real numbers here, yeah. So on lettuce heads, on the 50-foot row, you should expect 100 heads. Now this includes loss, okay? You're looking at 80% of your product can be sold, all right? On tomatoes, you should expect 250 pounds of tomatoes, about 5 dozen sweet corn, 300 bulbs of onions, and 100 pounds of green beans. That's on a 50-foot row of tomatoes, on a 50-foot row of sweet corn, but you don't grow sweet corn in a row, obviously. Okay, you have to have several rows of sweet corn for pollination, okay, but onions and things like that. And really, this is what the revenues you're going to take, and this is the time it takes in months to grow it, okay? So the time is an important factor. If you start growing varieties that would take 6-8 months, you're not going to see any money from that piece of ground for 6 to 8 months. That's probably not the smartest thing to do. So it's very important to choose varieties that are appropriate. All right, income from a farmer's market sale. So this is a small, only 5,000 square foot vegetable farm. Now this is something you can do from borrowing land at one or more community gardens. Okay, so what are we growing? We're getting 1,200 pounds of tomatoes. We're getting 30 dozen ears of sweet corn. We're getting 720 pounds of green beans, 480 heads of lettuce, and 90 watermelons. Those are averages. And they take losses into account. Just because you're growing tomatoes doesn't mean all the tomatoes that you grow, you can't sell them all, okay? Some of them are going to crack. Some of them are going to have holes in it. Nobody's going to buy stuff like that. So we take into account of product that cannot be sold to be able to get those numbers, okay? So you're ending an annual total revenue of $10,680. 60 to 70% of that is your income, okay? So your income will be between $6,000 to $7,000 a year from that 5,000 square feet of land. The rest of that is your operating and fixed costs. But what about if you scale up to an acre? The problem with scaling up to an acre is that you would not be able to sell everything that you grow to farmers markets, roadside stands. That's a challenge. You may be able to, but like I said, you have to be a special person to do that. Not everybody would be able to do that. So you're going to have to look for wholesale markets. So the grocery stores, maybe some restaurants, or maybe produce auctions, okay? So here you're looking at, out of a quarter acre, that's only 10,000 square feet, you have 13,000 pounds of tomatoes, okay? I'm assuming all of them are number 2 with a wholesale value of $11,908. That wholesale number, that is gotten from our average produce auction prices that University of Kentucky reports, okay? 3,900 pounds of onion bulbs, 5,000 heads of lettuce, and 980 watermelon. Your expected total revenue is $21,000. Again, 50, 60, 70% of that, depends on how good of a farmer you are, 50, 60, 70% of that will be your profit. That is the total revenue. Okie dokie. Conclusions, yay! Sub-acre farming can make money, okay? Yeah, you can make some money. You can get yourself started with some borrowed land and $5,000 worth of equipment. Large farms, 1+ acres, you have to sell wholesale, okay? There is no real option over there, okay? Here, sales are less of a problem, but your prices can be unpredictable too, because if you go to produce auctions, prices would vary. So if you have a large farm, say you're doing 3 acres of vegetables, the number one thing you have to focus is the quality of the product, because if you go to an auction market, if you go to a restaurant market, if you go to a grocery market, they will not buy crappy vegetables, okay? So it is a challenge to be a large organic farm, because with organic production you have lesser ability to fight diseases and fight insect pressure, okay? And so if you have bugs chewing on your tomatoes, guess what? You may have a few holes in your tomatoes. That is not a number 1 tomato, and that will be rejected, okay? So please be knowledgeable and thoughtful about these things, okay? The real struggle is the cost of equipment. That lady said, you cannot buy a tractor. She said that, okay? Maybe she is right, all right? When we got this started, my wife said, and my wife does not have a farm background, she said, Sid, we have to buy a tractor. And I said, no, we don't. We have to buy a tractor. I said, no, we don't. So we go to a Rural King in Ohio that sells Chinese tractors, and we got a Chinese diesel tractor for $22,000. And I told her, no, we are not buying this. So thankfully I prevailed, and what we did instead is we came to Earth Tools and we got 2 used but in good shape walk behind. I have a BCS 948. That's a big BCS. That's a monster BCS. And then for my sons, I got them a BCS 710 that they can handle. The 948 is too powerful. It's hard to turn around with that thing. That one I use, my sons use the BCS 710. And with the 2 BCS, we are able to handle up to 2 acres. And to be honest with you, I I have 7 acres available to me to farm, but we lease our land to a corn and soybean farmer, and I will never use the whole 7 acres because I just won't do that. I only vision myself farming up to 2 acres, okay? All right. Hey, guys, that's all I got. Hope you had a good time. Thank you. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
You have to go to the stage.
No, you have to send me a text message. That's all you have to do. I make things very easy. I make things very easy.
Can you make that number, state that
502-209-0838. And no matter how many texts you send me saying that I owe you money, I will not pay you money. Okay? Feel free to send me those texts.
How long is the training?
Huh?
How long?
Yeah, our plan is to train over a whole year. Okay, but we only